Hello everyone, welcome to this discussion. I took advantage. Mario Gianani was coming because we gave an award yesterday to Paola Cortellesi for the film C'è Ancora Domani. I don't know about the accent. It's an award we give each year, which is Prix Sisley Femmes de Cinéma. And I offered Mario to, I think he's a very interesting producer, but Ben will introduce him. I also wanted to say this discussion is done in collaboration with ACE Producers, a network of producers, because Mario Gianani is a member of this network. And then I will let Ben Dalton from Screen International introduce this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeremy. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm senior reporter at Screen International, and we're very lucky to be hearing from, I think, one of the top international producers across film and television, which will hopefully make this an interesting discussion. I'll do a brief introduction for Mario, although it's surely hardly needed. But Mario has produced over 50 films, 56 from what I could see. Does that sound about?
Never counted.
You haven't counted? Okay. We'll go with over 50, as well as around 20 TV series in just 2 decades. So it's a pretty good hit rate. He founded a production company, Offside, in 2001 with Saverio Costanzo. The company then morphed into Wildside in 2009. And through Wildside, Mario has really brought Italian film and television to a really global audience with series such as The Young Pope and The New Pope for HBO, Costanzo's My Brilliant Friend, and films by directors like Bernardo Bertolucci, Marco Bellocchio, and Costanzo himself. And then this year, last year, Wildside produced Paola Cortellesi's C'è Ancora Domani, which was a smash hit at the Italian box office and elsewhere, grossing 37 million euros in Italy, I believe, beating Barbie and becoming one of the 10 highest grossing films ever in the country. And then Mario left Wildside earlier this year to form Our Films, a production and finance company that he is running with Lorenzo Mieli, and Media One took a majority stake in that company in the summer. Our Films is aiming to work with established and emerging European, US, and international filmmakers across features, documentaries, and series. And I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about them in the months and years to come. So welcome, Mario.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to have 1 hour for discussion, and we're certainly going to take questions. Mario and I will speak for maybe sort of half an hour or so, but really I want this to be open for you all to take this chance. So if you think of something that you want to ask, get off your chest, stick your hand up, and we'll certainly come to you. But yeah, Mario, we'll start. Is this your first time here? Have you been to Les Arcs before?
I've been before. I've been so many years before. I've been in 2011 with a film by Saverio Costanzo. It's called The Solitude of the Prime Numbers, and I think so we've been together here, and I had wonderful memories of this festival. So I was so happy. I had the chance to get back to here. I think it's a very sophisticated festival. All through the years, you've built great reputation. So I deeply admire your work you have done. And it's not easy to create new festivals, new places where to stay together, discuss, and watch wonderful movies.
And it has a great position, sort of an end of the year celebration, right? This is good for everyone a chance to get together before Christmas. What was the event you had last night for C'è Ancora Domani and for Paola? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Paola had a prize, about also, that is a wonderful prize because it's about women in the film industry. And she was honored to receive it, and because also great established directors in the years before they received this prize. I think it's very consistent with Paola as a person. It's very consistent with Paola's work, and just a note that hasn't been noted too much in Italian papers until now. I mean, Paola was declared every year. There is a kind of top 10. Power list of talent in the country, that uses different, of course. And this year was of course Paola. There was not much to say that she was by far the first power list. It's the first time a woman ever in Italian history got first in the power list, both as a director, an actress, and a screenwriter. And we're very proud of it. We had to wait 2024 to have a woman get on top of that list. No one noted this in the Italian papers. I was quite surprised because I think this is new. And I think the word of yesterday is one of the recognitions that can tell, you know. And
congratulations to Paola for that, and to your role in bringing that film to fruition. We're going to go right back to the start of your film career. To begin with, because we've got a lot to get through. What was your first work in the film industry?
Basically, I was supposed to run for a post in the diplomatic career, so I did all my exams, but that was not my. I did an internship in an embassy, and I thought that was hell for me, so I stepped back. And because I spoke a little bit of English at that time and French and whatever, and I got the chance to know a producer that was about to film a TV series in Zimbabwe and needed an assistant and something like that. So I came across this job, and I flew to Africa for 6 months just to be his assistant, basically a driver. And I've been his assistant driver for 1.5 years.
Who was that?
It's Pietro Valsecchi. He was a super established Italian producer. He's one of the most known as a TV series producer. He's been doing success for 15 years. His company was bought by Mediaset. Was the first great acquisition done in the media space in Italy. He's produced, tons of hours. All Italians will know tons of hours of primetime shows with great success. And I was proud to be his assistant. I learned a lot by doing that from the very bottom of the.
Yeah. What did you pick up from that sort of 1.5 years of being a driver and being an assistant? What impression did it give you?
Being a driver is not because you listen a lot, to conversations. So you're picking up stuff because you are there when a producer happened to do his job. That is quite difficult to classify. Is very informal, and how he gets IPs, how he talks to people. So it's a language. Although we have completely different people, it's much more of a man of that kind of super opinionated and is with great energy that I don't have. But I managed to learn a lot by this. So I understood what a real producer was doing. I had no idea before I was supposed to be a diplomat, and I had no idea what a producer do. And I remember during the set, because I tend to be nice with people, and people were nice to me. So the DOP says, "Why don't you start a career in the photography business?" I said, "No, I know nothing about photography." And the production designer said, "Why don't you try to learn this?" So everybody was but none of those jobs that I was witness. But I was more interested. I found out being a driver that I was more interested in production. So I really learned a lot.
I think that's great for any producers, aspiring producers listening. That there are different ways in, right? You don't have to be doing one particular thing. There are many ways.
Yeah, to make fun, sometimes say what it needs to be a producer. First, there's two things. First, a driver license. I think it really helps, and then reading books is the second thing that really helps.
There you go. That's very good advice. And how did you make the move then from doing that sort of assistant work into becoming a film producer? Because you started really with film first.
Yes, there was a moment in between in which I worked for Mediaset, who was a commercial TV company in Italy, because working with this producer, we produced a show for Mediaset. Mediaset needed someone for the co-production at that time, and I had a wonderful, crazy, marvelous boss in Mediaset. It was a man who passed away, unfortunately, but he was my second master in my life, who gave me incredible opportunity to travel the world, to understand, and we made some financing of movies at that time through the money of Mediaset, and we're the first to invest. At the time was 2 million in the very first Paolo Sorrentino movie. We came across, I was working Mediaset, and a producer, Paolo Sorrentino producer, handed a script to us, and that was the first time with L'Uomo in Più Nobody knew about Paolo Sorrentino, and I read the script. I said, it's amazing, and nothing to do with media. Said no commercial, but I said, this. I mean, everyone who read the script says amazing. So it's not just because I'm a special person. Like everyone was obvious. I was an incredible, but Paolo was not known. When did some shorts, and was not commercial for TV. But I went to my boss, Roberto Pace. Says, Roberto, is incredible. I read something that is incredible. Doesn't fit in a slate. Doesn't fit that. But I think, and he generally said, give the money. If you believe it, give it the money. And that was how everything started.
That sounds like a risk, right?
Yeah, risk. I mean, we were Mediaset, big group, so he could afford a risk of something that wouldn't work. But really was not in the media space. If you see Mediaset channels and you see the Paolo Sorrentino movie, they don't really fit. But then there was the reason why Paolo Sorrentino did produce his following movie with Medusa, who was a film company owned by Mediaset. Huge risk, but this guy was crazy and genius crazy. So he just.
So you need a bit of genius crazy. What was your first film as producer then? Tell us about the first.
Yeah, then I exited the company in 2001 because then at the time was quite tough because Berlusconi got prime minister for the second time and time changed and Mediaset became something else. I felt was becoming something else, was more narrow, and I really wanted to go more in the film space that they didn't do that at that time. And so I established a very small company, and
Is this Offside?
Offside, yeah. And I managed to know Saverio Costanzo because Saverio Costanzo was doing document. He studying in New York, and he was working in New York, and he was doing documentaries in New York. And I saw one of his documentary for the Italian community in Brooklyn that was, I think, fantastic. That he did for very little amount of money. So I got to know Saverio, and I said, what about your next project? And Saverio wanted to do a documentary on a reanimation room in a hospital. And because it was immersive, at that time Saverio did immersive job. So basically he stayed in a place for month, and until the camera disappeared basically to the audience. And we made, it's called The Red Room, in which people are reanimated. And he stayed there for almost 3 months with his camera and filming, and the doctor lost all. So you had the patient there, sometimes alive, and they talk about the daily life. So basically the documentary went to the Turin Film Festival. We won a prize, and from there we decided to start a company that was Offside together. And our first feature was Private. That was a film that won the Golden Leopard in Locarno in 2004. And that was meant to be a documentary at that time, a documentary about Palestine, the Second Intifada, Palestinian and Israeli, but we couldn't do a documentary because it was too dangerous. At one point, I had to flew Saverio back. I've been there for a month. Then Saverio stayed there, very immersed. Went to Jabalia. I had to flew him back because it was really, literally too dangerous. Yeah, it was in Jabalia during one of the and that changed the project. We say, let's make a feature. So we recreate Palestine in south of Italy because we had no money. In Calabria, so we had very limited possibility of shooting, and we flew the Israeli and Palestinian actors. And before doing that, we did extensive casting also in Israel, and this changed also the story of the film because we became friends with many Israeli people, so we managed to have both sides, both also version of the same story.
It sounds like there's a good lesson there again for emerging, aspiring producers, is to maybe be flexible in those early days. Is that, you know, you had this thing that you wanted to shoot, but for socio-political reasons it was not possible, and then you adapted it, right? And you
Absolutely. And then cinema is great in that because you don't have the possibility to shoot in a place. You shoot in a completely different place you don't expect. Still, you can do cinema. I mean, we shot in Calabria. That if you see the real place, and if you see Palestine, they don't look alike at all.
And in those early days, so in sort of the mid-noughties, how did you go about building a slate? Because one thing I hear from almost every producer I speak to is that, you know, you can't just bet on one horse. You have to have, you know, several projects you're doing. Is that what you had at that time?
Yeah, we're a very, very small company. Of course, if you have the first success, it helps you to create a reputation. We've been helped by the media project. We managed to have a slate financing for other project. And then we create slowly and slowly. But actually, at one point, um, years after, I mean, I did arrive until I produced the Marco Bellocchio movie Vincere in 2008, and we did struggle. We did 1 or 2 feature film per year. We're doing still building some TV. The TV space really changed in Italy since Sky entered in commissioning. But at that time was only commissioning 1 or 2 TV series. We managed to have one very small one get. But we did understand that as independent company, we couldn't really build the slate we wanted. We didn't have access to the talent we wanted and the project we wanted, especially if we want to build more international career. Much more money were needed. The bank system were not really supporting. Contract did arrive always very late during production, so we spent most of our financing in interest, because basically everybody was signing when already you were out, and you got the contract last minute. The bank discount for a higher price, so it was literally a nightmare. And at one point, when we created Wildside with Lorenzo Mieli, was to combine forces. And trying to do first some commercial, also slate, and by having art house slate, TV slate, and commercial together, we built something still independent but at least more solid. And after 2 years of this combination, that really worked. I think we worked, but was not at that time very much understood or appreciated on the market. I spent a word on it, and then we sold to Fremantle. It was not appreciated because they said, how you combine, you do Severico Sanz, you do Marco Bellocchio, and then you do very stupid comedies for Christmas. How you combine all this stuff? I mean, they don't stick together. And also, talent do not very much stuck together, because the art house talent feels obliged, and the other one says, okay, you get all the fancy part of this business, but I do the money and you don't. So it was complicated also for us as producers to bring everyone together.
I was very interested to ask about that. In those years of maybe the offside time and then the first few years of Wildside, how did you identify the filmmakers that you wanted to work with, as you did have quite a diverse range of films?
Yeah, we're always interested in Italian filmmakers who we know in art house space who could build an international kind of career, because we don't have enough money in Italy, resources to build art house project that travels, unless you're very lucky, because projects are very unpredictable. So I'm talking about something that is true until a certain level. Anyway, people were ambitious to go across. When we made Private with Saverio says, we have to think like we are production company, and you are an artist by Azerbaijan that cannot live within the domestic market. It needs to travel. It needs to go outside. So that was our drive. But of course, to make it possible at that time, without being backed, we need to have a financial solidity that only a commercial slate could allow us to do. So we went to very commercial people, very commercial. So if you see our slate at that time, even now, to be honest, this is our trademark. To be honest, if you film that don't talk to one to the other, and at one point, the editorial consistency was seen as the real value, and we think. It is, but it also having diverse slate within is part of your editorial line too, because you learn one from the other. And I think the Paola Cortellesi movie shows that, because Paola Cortellesi is super commercial. We did Chris's movie with them. People competing in Cannes will regard this movie as just commercial and domestic. But this is how I knew Paola, and then in a day, Paola decided to do another movie. Because we crossed border between the two, we were able to understand which kind of movie she was doing, and she built something that is a bridge between something very commercial, but at the same time something that can stay beautifully also in another championship.
So we shouldn't perhaps in the industry see filmmakers as put in one box or another. You know, some of our great filmmakers have done some very commercial things, right? In the past, I think, and Paola, is a good example of that. And we're going to get to C'è Ancora Domani in a moment. But it's been mentioned about your working across film and television. So I think you've been making television for around 15 years or so. What motivated you to sort of add that to the film projects you were making?
There was a moment that I think is quite gone. We'll talk later about that, in which the film industry had a big crisis. I mean, and TV was very aggressive, to be honest. Film was in crisis because TV was very aggressive. Streamers were coming along. You could see they were come. First of all, Sky, when Sky entered in Italy and UK, was very aggressive. They want to do good TV, and TV producers were frustrated because TV commissioners were very traditional, was very old-fashioned, and we couldn't find a space to express ourselves. Sometimes very political. Also in Italy, public TV, state TV is very political. Mediaset had his own commercial slate, very precise, that sometimes it didn't meet the taste at the time. And then we had all the reality world coming into the TV, so it was a difficult space. When streamers, HBO or this new satellite first and then streamers then enter, they promise to bring quality and new possibilities and to be disruptive. That was very common word, be disruptive in TV world. So I think everybody was creating good content, wanted to create good content, saw them as the future, as something you could address to, and it was the case, because I think shows like that we didn't produce, Sky produced Gomorrah, that was a wonderful show, and so it opened up the doors to talent, to new producers who were not stuck in the previous domestic market. So that was we found it was a great opportunity, and we jumped in this new world with hope and enthusiasm, and we succeed. And everything at that time seems to be possible. Everything at that time seems to be possible. The door were open, people were interested. Modeling of co-production were interesting. That sophisticated audience spoke a much more common language than the domestic one. So, yeah.
It was a time when, yes, those doors were open. Now, I know you made some Italian comedy series to begin with, but then a few years into this sort of television journey, you have this small project, The Young Pope. So that's with HBO, Sky, and Canal Plus. Tell us how that came together. How did it first come to you?
Yeah, it's my partner Lorenzo Miele that really followed and created the whole scheme that was, I think, was very smart. What happens, like, Paolo Sorrentino just won the Oscar, and there were times in which TV was really aggressive, and yet this idea, crazy, and Lorenzo went to him, I remember, and says, "Why don't you create a TV show?" And at the time, creating a TV show was something cool to us, to an author, especially after you won an Oscar, and I think you face what do you do next, and what's right to do next, and I said, but why don't you create a show that has international potential, not domestic? So this is time. And Sky was very supportive, because Sky at the time was in Italy, was very supportive. So that was possible because Sky said, yeah, let's do it, let's partner together. Of course, when you started to build this project, and you build an international project, you understand that resources are not enough. So also Sky says, I can help until a certain point, but then you have to find something else. And then, flying to LA, and let's say he was trying to cast someone, and Jude Law was interested. And so with the interest of Jude Law, because Paolo just won an Oscar, the role was interesting. Paolo writes beautifully, he's amazing in his writing, so he read it. And with this package, we said, we need we have part of budget finance, and part is not finance. And so we went to HBO, and HBO took the opportunity, because for HBO was kind of a cheap investment, because we founded the other 50% was founded by Italy, Europe chain. So the idea was for HBO was very convenient, because they have an English language show, Oscar awards, talent they know very well. At the same time, they would pay a lower price if they would commission themselves. That would show in America would have cost the double, and or they would pay the double. And so this combination really worked, and they were very open. And yeah,
it sounds to me a little bit like how independent film comes together. So
exactly.
You have a script, and then if you can, you try and attach a good name, and then that helps get more financing. So it was a similar kind of
Exactly. You could.
Okay, so and then was this a first American or part American project for you?
Yeah.
What was that experience like of going to LA, taking those meetings? Was it a challenging thing? Was it
super challenging? And Lorenzo was very, because I mean nobody was accustomed to that. No agency. No, that was the very first time in which this kind of combination happened. So first time with HBO, that didn't have full control of something because something was financed, but they could still make it their show. And so people didn't know how to maybe treat it. That was very much first time, and was very exciting. And of course, having Paul is an amazing talent, and talent-driven TV. That was what the appetite for TV at that time.
Yes.
So I think the strength was on the directors and the talent.
Yes, and we've since in the so that's now 8-9 years ago that's premiered. We've seen a lot of series built on that model. Built on the So it really, I don't know, pioneered, but it sort of really broke through for that. It's an part Italian series about Catholicism, which got some criticism in some quarters, but also a lot of praise. Is that
priests loved it?
The priests loved it. There we go. You can put that on the poster. How much are you thinking about that when you're developing it? About, okay, this could be criticized in some quarters. Is that something you're conscious of, or you just put that to one side?
To be honest, Vatican is a fantastic arena. It can show now in Conclave because it's universal by definition. I mean, Catholic means universal, literally. So it's an international arena by centuries, I should say. And so it works. We don't have any. I mean, the power of the church in Italy is very limited. It doesn't really count. I mean, people are not afraid to criticize church. There is no cultural influence, political influence, commercial influence. To be honest, I don't think those are the times in which church can change your life.
No, so it's still just make a good series. That's your concern, is to yeah. And it could also be good publicity, I believe. If you
Paolo did study a lot for it. There's a lot of consultants, so everything is. I do remember one phrase that was very. Just to give you, the context of how the Vatican thinks, we had a fantastic consultant that is one of the major historian of the history of church. He's a great man, immense knowledge of church, and he's professor, university, Italy, US, whatever, everywhere. One of the biggest experts. And Paolo says, no, because I'm thinking something very peculiar, very strange, maybe outrageous, maybe something. The guy stops and says, I respect your fantasy, and no matter how big your fantasy is, whatever you will come out with has happened already in 2,000 years of history, so don't worry. So it's like...
it's just all repeating itself, As you mentioned it, I'll just get a show of hands from the audience. Who here has seen Conclave, Edward Berger's film? Have we had a few? Okay, there's a few people, so... This is a film also about Catholicism, about the church, on which you are an executive producer.
We just served the film. We act as a service company to help Ed and the production, house production of friends of ours to work through it.
But would it be fair to say, without asking you to boast or blow your own trumpet, that there wouldn't be a conclave without having had the young Pope and the new Pope? It's kind of opened a door to a new vein of Catholic storytelling.
I hope. I hope so. Maybe. I think the approach are very different, but yes, of course.
Yeah, that's a great detail in Conclave. That for those who get
the success of young Pope, I think, encourage.
Yes. And part of that launch and success of the Young Pope was it was the first TV series ever to play at the Venice Film Festival, a festival that you have a long history with. What did that represent? Do you see film and television beginning to sort of merge on that way at festivals?
I'm a stronger defender of film, so I will not. I would never confuse the two. And I was never a great advocate of people saying cinema is dead, now is TV is the new cinema. I didn't believe in it a sec, to be honest, and I'm very proud of it. I didn't believe even when streamers were commissioning huge movies, because that was a wave, that was based on perception. The success based on perception, I don't think is success that ever lasts. Success is based on people who enjoy something, to watch something. So I don't think I'm quite agree with the Kant choice. You know, don't confuse the two means. And a film is a film, a TV series is still a TV series. But I think festival very clever to open up, because to open up to an audience to watch distinctive TV series, because the TV series space is so crowded and it's so difficult for people to to choose the right one, that the festival pick on a TV series helps an audience to also watch TV series that may be a little bit out of the box. So I think it's a good service but it doesn't mean that they need to compete or to took the place of feature film. Feature films are done for another purpose, because they're watched in a public space. I'm not saying that because they're different in content-wise, but beautiful TV series, fantastic TV series, that are no less than a feature film. But I think experience a content together with other people in a public space is completely different, and it differs also for what you're watching.
No, we will get to a very recent example, which I keep saying, of C'è Ancora Domani. But just before that, another series you made, My Brilliant Friend, based on Elena Ferrante's novel. This was a big Italian project for an international audience, but you just said about the young Pope that part of what made HBO interested in that is its English language. Now, that's not the case here with My Brilliant Friend. Was this a risk when you're sort of putting that series together? Was it a struggle?
Again, this is something that happens very rarely. I don't know if it will happen again. An Italian very great producer, Domenico Procacci, took the rights of the Elena Ferrante saga, and it was meant to do an Italian mini-series out of the 4 books, just to give you space. When he asked to the writer, who do you want to direct this? Who do you dream to direct this? She said, on the few names she made was Saverio Costanzo, because Saverio Costanzo and I, years before, did work on a novel, Elena Ferrante, that was made, The Lost Daughter, that was beautiful film made years after. And we worked for a month on that. Saverio worked a month on that script adaptation. Then he decided it was too complicated to set in Italy because of many reasons, that the wonderful movie could escape.
This is what became the Maggie Gyllenhaal film, starring Olivia Colman. Yeah.
And he did another film on maternity, a difficulty of maternity, that was called Hungry Hearts. And Hungry Hearts was beloved by Elena Ferrante. She understood the link, and so that's why she, on that good memories of relation with Saverio, she asked for Saverio. So we got in contact with Domenico Procacci, said, why don't we combine, do it together? But still was a limited Italian. What happened is, like, the Elena Ferrante books got a huge endorsement in the States. At one point, they were already published by month. The book was doing well, but was not just the case. Then, all in a sudden, there is a beautiful review in New Yorker, and that made spotlight on the book. And then all sort of women of that time made endorsement, until the very last was Hillary Clinton, who says, "Sees in my death is one of the most beautiful things." Hillary Clinton at that time was huge fame, was running for campaign, and first woman, and the first woman running for a campaign, telling this is a book every woman should read, made huge in America. So HBO called me and said, "What? Do you know anything about this book?" Because we're just a young pope, and I say, "Of course we know." And then how this thing settled up.
Yes. Now, as many people here will know, Elena Ferrante, this is a pseudonym, this is not the author's name. How do you go about working with an author who is not publicly known? I mean, are you communicating with this person?
Yeah, this is Saverio. This has happened the first time on the Lost Daughter experience, you communicate by email. And always give it, in Italian you have this third person, in which when you don't know someone or you respect someone, you call them, you give the third person. And Saverio and Elena Ferrante communicated in third person, I think, until last year, in which after I think the third season, she said, "Okay, we can call ours by names." I think it's like
Three seasons into
three
it.
seasons to pass on more onto that, and so it's like kind Mrs. Ferrante. This is what kind Mr. Saverio Costanzo. This is what I think about you. And she was giving notes very precisely. She was very responsive. Sometimes let you wait. I mean, she was very professional in doing that, and but she followed closely the work.
And was that always through Saverio, or is that through yourself?
Saverio,
Just Saverio does that.
She
Okay.
just wanted to speak to.
Keep the circle tight. Well, that it was another big international success. But then, in the last couple of years, you've had one of those on the film side. So here we are, C'è Ancora Domani. How did you first become aware of this project? What was the first time this sort of came across your desk?
We've done, I think, 7 feature films before with Paola. Paola was star. Paola, she's very famous in Italy as a comedian, as an actress comedian. But Paola, she was also the co-writer of the comedies we've done together. And I got to know her very well during the years because she was writing first, and so and then of course as an actress. And I do remember one of the last we did produce together. I came across her in the editing room because the director was not well, and because she was the comedian, she has the real timing of jokes and whatever happens in comedy. And we've been together in the editing room, and she was fantastic. She got all the beats like I say, Paola, amazing. I mean, I think you should direct a film. I mean, you write a film, you interpret a film. I think you should direct. The way you edit, I can tell you have the timing. I think it's time to direct. I say, okay, thank you for the proposal. I don't have an idea now, but I keep in mind I will come if I have an idea. And every time she says, "Do you have an idea?" It didn't happen. She took time because she's a very wise person and down to earth. And one day she calls me and say, "I have an idea." I say, "Great." So I was expecting, as a good producer, a wise producer, a very good large comedy from the start, because everyone was expecting that to happen. And I say, Mario, look, I want to tell a story about domestic violence. I say, good start for a large comedy, but it's set in the past. In 46, and of course and I finished the world. It's black and white. Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
Ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, tick all the boxes. Okay, this is this is all the bad news about what the project is. I say, yeah, but I know it could be some fun in it and whatever. Right? Okay, I say, Paola, whatever. I mean, we worked together since 8 years. I trust you. I know it's discouraging, and I said, of course it is, because I need to be honest. But you never know. So I read the first treatment, and the treatment was really smart as a script. Was really, really smart. Then goes into the script, and it was really smart. Even if it was something dangerous, for example, the dance scene. I struggled with the dance scene by reading it. I said, "Are you sure that doesn't follow into something that doesn't connect anymore?" I said, "I'm sure." Then, so we progressed. People who co-financed the movie, like distributors, were not sure and happy at all. But I said, trust me. We were very strong because Paola made lots of success previously. So I said, you have to give us a chance. So they still give us a chance. Then we follow closely with Paola, and I saw Paola preparing this movie. She did 2 months of rehearsal, like stage rehearsal with all the actors, and she was incredible, I promise you. I never saw a director with so precise idea of what she had in mind in terms of location, writing, even the black and white, even the cameras we did, everything was so clear in her mind that when you see that, you cannot do anything else than trust. It's easy to trust because she had everything clear. The actors were perfectly trained. They got the tone. That was very funny. They showed me the funny scenes. Says, if you laugh, if you have 2-3 laughs in these films, we're done. I say, we have the laughs, Mario. I promise you that in the first treatment we were not that. In the script we were almost there. When you did the rehearsal, we were there. I laughed at the rehearsal. The dining scenes that was like hilarious. You could tell. I said, look, Paula, if you manage to put all these things together, is great. And she had everything in her mind so clear, and she shot perfectly. And everything, the script is the editing of the film. Hardly happened to me that there's nothing cut.
So you didn't need to, in post-production editing, you didn't need to make too many changes?
Within the scene, few things, but 4 or 5, tining of the scenes, but nothing dramatic. The sequence of the script is the sequence of the film.
Does part of that come from working with someone who you had such a good relationship with already? You've worked with for so many years that does it make it quicker? Does it make it...
Yeah, but she has clear in her mind. I mean, because, even if you have a great relation and you come to the editing room and you change, everyone who does his work knows, You read the script and you see the edit. Most of the time it's different. You have creative ideas doing the editing that makes improve the films. It happens all the time, and it's correct. I mean, you even the opening of the film hardly is the one you have imagined, but it's fine. It's part of the job. This is incredibly precise to tell how much she had everything in her mindset.
Now, when it was released in Italy 2023. This right, so
yeah.
Was there champagne or prosecco in the offices when you see those opening figures? I mean, it did significantly better from the off than maybe people might have expected.
No, I saw the film early on because the film was ready already. We shot in September, and the film was ready in April, so even before March. She was very quick in preparing the movie, and of course we were waiting for the good season to release it. And when I saw the film, I said, this film works. Works in Italy means you can make up to 1 million admissions. That means between 6 and 7 million of box office. This is all we did expect, because the movie really worked. I mean, basically we understood it, and the black and white was no problem. We got it, so we imagined a large release, but that was the numbers we did expect, and the film started well, started more online with these first figures we had in mind. I do remember once that for the first weekend, just only one person with Universal that was part of the distribution service said, I don't think it's more in the space of 8 than in the space of 6, because I see the reactions. And we said, oh, well, let's hope. Then someone else passes, a younger one, a junior commercial that works in the commercial of the theatrical distribution Universal says, I said 15, but they think me I'm an idiot. I say, ha, 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 I said 15, you are an idiot. He passes through the poor guy. And what happened after the first weekend was okay, but you see that the Monday, the very next Monday, the film started to boom, all in a sudden, numbers that we never saw before.
When that happens, something really takes off and captures the public attention, as it really did in Italy. How does that affect your role as producer? Because you've already made the film. The film is then out there. Do you have anything then to do with discussions about sort of changing the theatrical release, about other territories? Like, it's...
No, yeah, it was very much expanding the movie, because when the film starts, it never stops the film and discussion. So the film ran into Christmas. We won for 2 years in a row the award for Best Performing Movie, because between October and the 1st of December, we made already 27 million. And before 1st of December 2023 and 1st of December and 30th of November 2024, we made another 10 million. And so when the film starts, nothing. That's why I love cinema, and that's different from TV. When a film breaks, nothing. It's like democracy. When people start to vote, they vote. I mean, when people endorse something, they show it, and you cannot stop them. And so the film was fully released in Christmas, like it was a Christmas movie. It made more than Christmas movie in Christmas days. So I was more worried about the international, because when something works domestically, sometimes it could be a limit. But to be honest, Universal, since July, before the release, month before the release, pick the film for France, and it's not usual that a major Universal, just one film in the past they did. That was a noir, was a genre film. They picked it up and then they released it with good result, not amazing, good result. But they believed the movie, and what we really worked was trust and campaigning with them. And the film made almost 750,000 admissions in France. Was very big for an Italian movie. The movie who did best on this was 2001, the Palme d'Or, Nanni Moretti, in another complete world and space of the Palme d'Or. Nothing like before. No, so, I mean, there is no other big Italian breakout that did ever like the same. I mean, they do 200,000, 250, just to give you just the measure of 300,000 is a success, and you do all of a sudden for somebody completely unknown, because she doesn't have a festival beyond Cannes, or the other authors have something, are backed by something that the French audience reckon here is nothing. I mean, the comedies are not being released in France. She's no one. She's black and white. So just out of the film, and the reputation the film was building, and that was great. And then the international distribution, 124 countries, and so I said to Paolo, now we have to start traveling. I mean, if the film works, has the film work in? It did work in, of course, with different numbers, but in Spain, UK View made a fantastic job. Of course, more limited numbers, but you can tell the film was pleasing the audience.
Just to give it a little bit of context around the UK release, it was there's a cinema chain in the UK, View Cinemas, which also works internationally, and this was the first film that they distributed themselves in the UK and Ireland ever. This was their first proper distribution title. Why was that theatrical release in as many international territories as possible important? Why was it important to get?
Because you understand which kind of. I mean, I always wish Paula the best, but we need to understand who you are. If your language speaks to universe, speaks to domestic, there's nothing wrong. I mean, Paula spoke to domestic for many years, and nothing to be blamed. I mean, she was very proud of the job she has done, but she didn't have any confidence about international, and neither we had a past or experience. And when you don't have a festival, I mean, with the Rome Film Festival, you open the festival, but still it's more domestic. When you don't have an imprinting by a festival, international, it's quite rare to find. Only big comedies, the French comedies that break through, the very few without a festival imprinting. So you really never know. This all relies on audience reaction. And so this is something you have to learn by distributing a film, by promoting a film, by marketing a film, and then you're in the hand of the audience, because you don't have something on the stamp on your film that says, buy this is a good film. That is much easier. You really, and also for distributors elsewhere, they don't know how. They only can claim this has been a success in Italy, let it be a success here. And how does this translate or not, you never know. But it did. So we really, really were focused on international, country by country, language by language, and it did work. I'm so proud. Now is Japan, and Paolo will be in Japan release, and they host. And something in China, we did a first press with China, was amazing, and they decided to release the movie in China on the 8th of March, the international date of woman date internationally. And for China, it's kind of a political standpoint. They release the film in the day of women, China. So, and without censorship, it's the first we sold sometimes comedies to China. They always censor something. This is no censorship. So, it's
shows the connection across territories, of an Italian film. Now, please do get your hands up now. Let's, have hands up for some questions, because, I'm very keen to get those in. But we've spoken about this wave of directors, very established film directors, moving into television that was sort of coming maybe 10 or so years ago. But then we've also just spoken about a very successful international independent film. Is that wave of directors going into television, is it slowing down? Is it coming to an end?
I believe, is wave, so when it comes to an end, maybe
another wave comes.
Another wave comes. I think I think now has coming to an end, because first of all, what drives talent to in the film space. To go in TV, I think, is the possibility to, of course, to have an extensive narrative, but also count on the possibility that this extensive narrative is very well regarded by the TV channel streamers, whatever. It means they have the enough space to be promoted, highly promoted, and be distinctive in that space. Because they're used to films, and films have this marketing trend. I mean, they need to be distinctive. They have a campaign. They always do use campaign, and there is the correct budget to do something that can embrace the view of, and sometimes the ambitious view of a director. So basically, they need to have the right budget and the right visibility. I think those days, streamers are actually doing, they're analyzing data. So they're not in the space in which they need to be launched, in which big names need to be known, like past years, or need to be endorsed. A great talent endorse Netflix because it does a film with Netflix. I think Netflix is Netflix. Yes. It's quite opposite. I mean, it's like they felt the strength, and by analyzing data, they also understand what works and what doesn't work. So they have they know very well what is perception of a success. So it gives you visibility on papers, and what is the actual audience watching. And now what the actual audience watching, it's what normally we know normal audience watching on TV. So they're like, that kind of genre show. And I'm not sure that kind of genre show do appeal to very established directors nowadays. I don't think White Lotus is a great show. HBO, I'm not sure directors will kill themselves to do an episode of established director that win Cannes will kill themselves to do an episode of White Lotus, who's, by the way, super successful, super well done. So I think in a director that wants to impose his vision to TV, I think it finds difficult nowadays to do, and vice versa.
Great directors, great filmmakers, if I can want to make what they want to make. They want to make their stories that they're connected to, don't they? So that can be difficult in the
can be difficult. I don't know the data of Disclaimer, but this is the highest, one of the biggest, more talented director in the world. I think an amazing casting. Does this make a difference for a streamer like Apple in terms of? We'll see. But I feel that streamers are more cautious. I mean, before, when you throw them a huge name, they will run with it and rave. Now I say yes, but. And but depends on, and now, for example, there's less investment. We know they pay less.
Yes, certainly we know, there's been sort of cuts in the budgets in the last couple of years, but hopefully that can bring back towards, we have a question here. We do have a mic. And then, please do get any other questions.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry to butt in. Just on the back of that point about people not wanting to go into shows so much, does that mean, do you feel like cinema is having a triumphant moment? Because it's also difficult in Italy at the moment with tax breaks and everything being up in the air. So is film taking over? And I had one other question after that. And also, obviously, the next question is, what's Paolo Cortellesi doing next? I know you probably can't tell me. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I had to.
She doesn't know, that's why.
That first bit was going to be what I was going to ask. Is no, thank you. With if TV is kind of for film directors stepping back a bit, will we see some of these film directors making films again?
I think film directors always wanted to make films and use TV sometimes, to alternate to movies. I don't think none of them was happy to be, even the directors that made films for streamers, in the end of the day, always wanted to come back to confront themselves with real audience in cinemas. So I think that's always been. And I think cinema has an hype because has content that TV will not make, and directors knows. If I admire, sorry if I burn a question and maybe it was later, I feel Emilia Perez is a masterpiece. I mean, I watch the movie and say, whoa, fuck. I mean, this is the movie. I don't think any TV will ever produce. Now it's on Netflix and make a huge campaign, but from the very beginning, from the very start, I think if you pitch something for a TV show, it would be tough to.
Why
make
is
it
that that TV would
no,
not
no,
make Emilia Perez?
it's more conservative. I think. I don't think we have to blame anyone. If you analyze data like all they do, and you watch what audience really want, audience wants to be is predictable. In the data analysis, is quite predictable. So of course, TV wants a product that they can little predict how many shows they're financed, and they done nothing. This is a huge risk for them, and they don't produce a feature film. They produce 8 episodes, 6 episodes. Now that's now they want to have shorter format. That's going into 4 episodes because the risk they're taking is huge. So they do the job, and they wonderfully do the job, because if Netflix is successful, first of all, we should be very happy, and secondly, they've done a great job, because otherwise you cannot be successful. But in order to be successful, I know the rules you are doing, and the rules you're doing is you have to analyze your data, predict what can work, and risk the less. This is how it make you great. Otherwise, you close. Otherwise, in 2 years, and we see how many, distribution and company streamers don't work, because data are data. So if data tells you something, you have to follow that. And data are difficult to film out of. Emilia Perez will do great, but was if you are in the shoes of someone who have to predict that from a line, 2 lines, or something, is wow. Could be tough. Film can take more risk. Film business can take more risk. First of all, it's because it's a single, and then because, of course, there is a net of protection. If a great author knows there's a festival to go there, as someone very clever to watch it. In TV, maybe you don't have time. People skip it because the campaign is very much on marketing. You don't have time of people, and then you are. That's the second reason why I think for directors it's difficult. You put your content in a window of so many content. Before you saw the single shows at the marketing campaign for months, for years. Now you have 6 shows, 5 shows, 7 shows, and you are one of the many. Sorry. You're very much one of the many. Paola Cortellesi doesn't know because she's been traveling. I've been forced her to go. So literally, but she will sit down and write her next movie from January, and I'm sure she will do very well. She's a person very down to earth. She did not lose her mind by the success she had in Italy. So she's a very clever person. She arrived to success when she was 50 years old, so she's wise enough. And she comes from background of struggling on TV, comedies. She's been, judged by people, have bias against her. So she arrived calm and happy for this, and grateful for this success. So I'm sure she will do great.
Keeping her feet on the ground. Just to finish off, if we don't have other questions, something else that's new this year, after 23 years with First Offside and then Wildside, you left that company and you've started a new company, Our Films. I know that new projects, you're not quite at a stage of talking yet, but what can you tell us about how that's going and getting the investment from media?
No, I'm very happy because this company is made by my former partner, which I created, Wildside, and we sold to Fremantle. But Lorenzo Mieli, basically our history that we found this company together. Then we sold it, but the moment we sold it, he created another company with Fremantle, and we separated a little bit because after so many years of working, quite separately together, but separately we wanted to engage ourselves on his own for a little bit. And after these 2-3 years that we've been on our own, we regrouped together, understand. But in that market, the pleasure of working together is higher than showing to ourselves something. So it's something we learn to ourselves, to a little humble of ourselves. I say, I think we need to stay together because together we're stronger. And I think this is a moment in which you have to think twice before you do something. You have to challenge your ideas. You have to be stronger because it's a very, very tough environment, very tough market. So the joy of regrouping was immense, and you can tell by what we're doing now. This late, we're so happy, super happy with what we're doing, and you show. So first of all, we're happy with that, and this teaches a lesson that I think this job, when you combine forces in the job, is always very, very useful with something you share the passion. You feel very clever. You feel something you can challenge with, and then we found a partners because we know this space of 100% independence is very hard, especially those time. And we found in Media One a fantastic partner. Fremantle has been in the past very nice, very protective. They leave us, free to choose a project, and they are disciplined when need to be disciplined. So
that's good. And perhaps in 2025 we'll hear about some projects.
We have an extensive lineup to come, and we're very happy.
Look forward to that. Well, I think that's a good point to wrap it up. So it just remains me to say thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mario.
thank you, and
thank you all for coming along.
Thank you all.